They're not very pretty, but oh man, they are so good. Chocolate chip. It's like a cookie orgy on Saturday. Alright. Hot sauce. Here's my desk. I mean, it's a little, I guess it's a little messy, but who cares, right? I'm going to be getting married pretty soon to this wonderful lady, Judy. So when we live together, I guess it'll be a whole different story. Bookshelf is a little messy. Why do I think that doesn't surprise you after looking at my desk? Anyway, I want to share something with you. In this book, Writing Without Teachers, by Peter Elbow, he's got this idea, what he calls the believing game and the doubting game. And basically, it's a matter of when you're brainstorming, when you're spitballing, when you're being creative, whatever you want to call it, free writing, you don't want to be critical. You don't want to be shooting your ideas down. The more ideas you have, the better. The more creative material you have, the better. You want to be prompting yourself, asking yourself, what if and what next? Don't let things like, well, we don't have the resources, or we don't have the time or the money or the actors or the ability to do these things. Just come up with the concepts and you'll work it out. There's always creative solutions and workarounds to really great concepts. It may not be quite the way that you envisioned it in your brainstorming, in your free writing session, but nonetheless, it could be a really great execution on a really interesting concept if you'll just give it a chance. And the only way that you give it that fair chance is by doing your brainstorming separate from your critical analysis, your editing. The editing is where you're measuring against certain strategic criteria and you're being very exacting and you're asking, does this fit and will this work? Which is very different than what's next and what if and how can we. That's a very different left brain, right brain kind of thing, very different processes. So if you try to do both of them at the same time, they end up sort of canceling each other out, and neither one is really great. In other words, you've watered down the passion that you might be feeling in your creative process, and you've also sort of dulled your razor edge editing ability when you're still sort of creating in the editing phase. So keeping them separate is extremely beneficial. Let me share some of the excerpts out of Peter Elbow's books. I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. Creating with the believing game. Forgetting ideas. The believing game is particularly useful for eliciting and understanding ideas that are at the limits of what we can imagine or explain. Ideas that the doubting game usually sees as dubious or crazy. Editing with the doubting game. Doubting is my shorthand for criticizing, debating, arguing, and trying to extricate oneself from any personal involvement with ideas through using logic. We need both processes, but we need to keep them separate.
You gotta keep them separated.
Creative go-to guy.
You gotta keep them separated.